Hello ninjas, welcome to the Coder Dojo. How is everyone today? You ready to do some Python today? I have Scratch open because I'm going to do a bit of comparison, so probably a good idea to open up a window of Scratch, but you will also need to go to this website where we can run Python. You can run a downloaded form of Python, but I figure this is probably the easier way of doing it. How's it going, Jack? How's it going, AD and AJ? Did you have a nice long weekend? So, I'm doing very well. Whoops. Guess what I was missing? Right. Well, welcome ninjas to the Coder Dojo. So I've just linked a website in the chat for you for Python. Oh, that's so funny. Oh, my screen is blurry as well. Interesting. We'll have to see how that goes. So this is the reason why I have latency. If my screen is blurry, it might be a problem with the internet speed. Hopefully it should clear up though. Can't believe I've got the microphone. Okay, so let's say that again. So I've got Scratch open. Probably a good idea to have Scratch open in case you want to do some comparisons with Python. But otherwise, I have linked you to an online version of Python. I'll put it in the comments or the description of the YouTube video if you're watching this later than live. But yeah, so that's pretty much. So ready to do some Python today? We're going to do some syntax. So instead of starting things off with playing some Scratch games, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some of the basic stuff that we need to maybe have a good reminder of. And I'm going to ask you some questions, so write into chat your contributions as well. Hi Trish, how's it going? Falcon Fab Lab Coder Dojo. Hope you had a nice weekend. Okay, so here's an interesting question. Oh, actually, before I start the session as well, I should say big thanks to UJ, because I'm not that familiar with Python. UJ helped put together this lesson plan, so big thanks to him. Very appreciative. And I'm working off basically mostly some of his notes of some stuff that he wants us to be covering in the Coder Dojo as well. So what is programming? That's a bit of a big question, isn't it? But basically it's writing instructions for your computer to follow, right? So we're used to making games in the Coder Dojo because they're fun. I like games. You guys usually like games, and games are a good way of seeing immediately if your coding is working. But what other things does coding do? So what sort of programs does coding run? Write your answers in chat. I'll give it just a few seconds, just so I don't cut off your thoughts. So you're watching this on YouTube, right? YouTube all runs off of code. In fact, pretty much every program that you use, Microsoft Word, even your OS, so whether or not you're using this on an iPad or a Windows computer, all of it runs through code. Code is more than just making games. The sorts of things that you can do with code are amazing. Websites, like apps for phones, and all sorts of stuff. So one thing as well that this is an example that is a bit of fun. Try to think if you had like a robot friend and you had to give them instructions on how to eat cereal. Now, at first, you might be tempted to just say it very simply, like, well, you pour the cereal, you eat the cereal, you put your bowl in the dishwasher, done. But with coding, we have to be very, very specific. Hey, how's it going, Greg? Nice to have you with us. Absolutely, Jack. You're quite right. The computer, YouTube, everything. Websites, robots, iPads, absolutely. So yeah. Hey, Ms. Yeti, nice to have you with us. Excellent, excellent. So we're talking a bit more. We're having a bit of a refresher on coding. So if you were giving instructions to your robot, a robot friend, and you were giving them instructions on how to eat cereal, you would have to be very specific. You have to say, okay, you've got to get the bowl and put it on the table. You have to pour the cereal into the bowl. You have to put the cereal back in the cupboard. You have to get the milk, pour the milk on the cereal, and put it back in the fridge. Then you have to get a spoon. Then you have to put the spoon into the cereal, lift it up to your mouth, put the cereal in your mouth, take out the spoon, start chewing, then swallow. And then those three things, get the cereal on the spoon, lift it to your mouth, put it inside your mouth, or four things, take the spoon out, chew, five things. Repeat those five things over and over and over and over and over and over until when? When do you stop eating the cereal? When the cereal has run out, right? And then here's an interesting thing. What do you do with the leftover milk? Because this will be a controversial one. I drink the milk out of the bowl. Other people use the spoon to get all the milk out. Other people just tip the milk into the sink. Everyone, what's your opinions on cereal milk drinking? Answers in the chat, please. Now, think about that series of instructions we gave. And we could even get more specific than that, but for the sake of argument, let's say think about all those instructions. Does the order of those instructions matter? Like, could we give those instructions in a different order and would it still work? Everyone, write what you think in the chat. Do you think the order matters or the order of the instructions doesn't matter? As long as all the instructions are in there, it'll work fine. What do you think? Let me catch up with chat. Yes, Jack, drink out of the bowl. Yes. This is my decision as well. Greg says wasting that milk is something only a savage would do. I agree, Greg. I agree. Civilization is drinking the milk out of the cereal bowl, surely. Yep, drink it, Anna Daniel. Yes, absolutely. Quite right. One thing I need to mention as well, there's a bit of latency, so you'll notice that the video that you receive will be on a slight delay from when I actually am responding to what you're saying in chat. So don't be alarmed if there seems to be this weird delay between when I respond to something that you say in chat. And this is why I give you a bit of time to respond back to things that I'm saying in chat. Excellent. Jack says it matters. Falcon, Fab Lab, Coder Dojo, order does matter. Yes. What would happen if I gave the instructions, like if we mixed up those instructions, like you might end up telling your cereal drinking robot, cereal eating and drinking robot, to get to like start chewing, then put the cereal in their mouth, then swallow, and they swallow all this unchewed cereal. I mean, maybe that wouldn't be so bad. But then what happens if you don't? If you get them to put the spoon into their mouth, then get them to chew with the spoon still in their mouth, then tell them to take the spoon out of their mouth. Then you'll get serious problems, right? This robot's trying to chew on the spoon. That wouldn't work. So the order. Now, Scratch as well, we're used to having all of these little bits of coding that are off in different sections. So we don't often think of them as happening in an order, but everything in a program happens in an order, line by line by line by line. So that's an important thing to remember, that the order of your instructions matters a lot. You can move one line, like 2 lines up, and it will break your entire code, or it will stop doing what it's meant to do. So order matters quite a lot. Ms. Yeti says, my tablet supports split screen, so I have the stream on the left and Python on the right. That is a good idea. If you can, it is great to be able to see both the stream and what you are doing. Yeah. Okay, so another thing that we are used to, I'm going to show you something in Scratch. It's probably a good idea for you to have Scratch open, but it's not super important. The important thing is that you have Python open. Hopefully everyone's gotten that link. If you don't have the link for this Python program here, then look up in chat, scroll higher, find the link that I gave. If you can't find it, just say so in chat and I'll link you to it again. So we have something very, very simple here in Scratch. When green flag clicked, say hello world for 2 seconds. So if I hit the green flag starting our program, you can see the cat says hello world, exclamation mark. This is the classic first program everyone makes in pretty much every language. It's tradition that you learn how to make your program say hello world. So that's what we're going to do now. So come across to, I don't know how to pronounce this. Would you say replit? Reply it? Ripl it? Ripple? Python Online Compiler. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make that same coding in Python instead of Scratch. We're going to make hello world. So follow me. We're all going to do this together. So type in print, P-R-I-N-T, and then a bracket. So yeah, I'll just call it a bracket for now. Sometimes these are called parentheses, I think. Don't want to get that wrong. And then you need a speech mark or a quotation mark, and you need it to be the 2. And you'll notice that what Python is doing is it's helping us out by it's doubling them up. So you'll see that it's already given us another bracket on the other side and another quotation mark on the other side. And then we're going to type in hello world, exclamation mark. Okay. And then there's a little run button in the center top of your screen. Hit that button, and let's see what happens. You should have on the black side of the screen where it's actually displaying the code that you're making. It should say "Hello World." Okay. So I'm just going to catch up with chat now while everyone's doing this, and I might even see if I can zoom in, make this a bit easier for you to see. Yeah. All right, cool. That's at 200%. So you should be able to see my code if you've got my stream up where you can see it. Let me catch up with chat now. Jack Fisher, I have 3 screens. Multiple screens. I never used to have multiple screens, and now I do. And it's fantastic. I love having multiple screens. So I have my screen over here, and then I've got the chat over here. I've just got 2 screens at the moment. One of my screens is very big, though. All right. Got some discussion of what tablets we've got. And very good. All right. So we've got print, bracket, quotation mark, hello world, exclamation mark, quotation mark, another bracket. So we might even say also, so there are these brackets here, we refer to them as open bracket and close bracket. So you can see one is like the beginning of the 2 brackets, and the other is the end of 2 brackets. So now I want you to delete one of these brackets, doesn't matter which one, and run your program and see what happens. So this is an important lesson. You need to make sure that whatever you are printing is inside the brackets, because your program needs to know what is, like specifically, you've got print, which is an instruction, command, and then you need to say, but what are you going to print? Because I won't go into this into too much detail. We're going to be using a lot of extra lines, like doing like a line of stuff and then another line of stuff and another line of stuff. But a lot of coding doesn't necessarily work that way. A lot of coding doesn't take notice of what line, so just pressing enter onto the next line is not always enough. You need to make sure that your syntax is correct. Has anyone heard the term syntax before? And if you have heard the term, what do you think syntax relates to? Write your answers in chat now. So syntax is to do with, I think, firstly, spelling, the language that you use. So if I were to replace print, the word print, with say, can you see what comes up? Syntax error, syntax warning, because it's saying this word say, I don't know what that does. I don't know like what you want from me. The word say means nothing in Python. But print, Python knows exactly what that is. So in Scratch, we don't usually type out our code we don't type out most of our code. Most of it is always spelt correctly because we drag and drop it. In Python, it's very important that you spell things correctly. And a lot of interfaces for Python will check your spelling and will check your syntax. Make sure that you have 2 brackets. You have an open bracket and a closed bracket. Try deleting one of your quotation marks. See what that does. Immediately, again, it stops working. Now, quotation marks. Why do we have these quotation marks here? So what I need to talk to you now about is about data types. So we've used variables before, right? Let's talk about what a variable is. We're going to be doing variables a bit later. But a variable is a container. It's like a magic box that you put a piece of data into. How many pieces of data can fit into one variable? Answers in chat. Only one. If you have your variable, let's say your variable is score, the score in your game that you've made, and you have a piece of data in there already, and the piece of data is 21. What happens if you put a new piece of data into that box? So let's say 400. The original piece of data, that 21, is deleted, gone. And it's overwritten by 400, the new piece of data we're putting in. So I'm going to use the word data a lot. And data, so if you can imagine a variable as a box, it's a container, or like a Pokeball that a Pokemon goes inside. So like Pokemon, data comes in different types. So you have your variables, your data goes inside your variables. And there's other ways of explaining it, but for now, let's stick with that. So with your data types, what types of data do you know? Have you guys heard of data types before? Write in chat if you know any data types, and I'm going to catch up. Yes, you're quite right. Yes, you've gotten the answers quite right. Absolutely. Very good. So, data types. So, and in fact, Mezietti was mentioning these earlier, I think. I need to look up what the comment was. Where is it? Because you were mentioning this right earlier. Yes. Okay, yeah. So your fun fact, Mezietti gave us a fun fact. In Python, there are strings, floats, and ints. Those are all examples of data types. They're like types of data. So a string is basically letters and numbers. So for example, hello world is a string. It also allows for spaces. So by putting quotations around this hello world, we are telling Python that what's inside the quotations is a string. So I want you to treat it like a string. So a string could be a name, it could be a phone number, it could be an address, it could be like a phrase. That's what a string is. Usually we talk about it being like words, like a word or multiple words, but there can be numbers in there too. However, there is, so we have ints and, oh goodness, what's the other thing? The other type of number. Anyway, there's integer and the other one escapes me. It doesn't actually matter too much in Python, but there are actually two types of number data type, right? One is whole numbers, and the other is numbers that allow for like decimals. So for example, a whole number, like how many pies do you have? Maybe that's a bad example. But let's just say, how many complete pies do you have? I have 3 complete pies. But then if someone says, how much does a pie cost? It costs $4.99, so 4.99. That allows for decimals. So in Python, I don't think Python makes a big deal out of the difference between whole numbers and decimal numbers. I could be wrong. Someone who understands Python better than me can correct me there. So yeah, one particular type of data is a number, and you might have multiple types of number data type that are useful for different things. So we've talked a little bit about strings. We talked a little bit about data types. Let's start doing some extra coding. Now that you understand how variables work, let's create some variables. So let's start by doing something pretty simple. Actually, before we even do that, let's do some calculations. So we've done print hello world, and you can replace this hello world with anything. So you could replace this with, I am trapped in your computer. Let me out. And as long as it has the quotation marks, it will print exactly what we have written inside that. You know, we could write, it's dangerous to go alone, take this. You know, we could write any number of things. Fortnite is my favorite game, or I hate Fortnite, depending on what your preference are on Fortnite. You can write any number of strings inside the quotations. But let's take out those quotations, and let's instead do a calculation. So calculation, just basically doing maths, like using it as a calculator. So let's say we want 358, and we're going to go plus 57. And let's hit play, and let's see what it prints. Cool, it does that. Now, if we put spaces in there, I think it's still okay, yeah. So we can do plus, we can do minus. So answers in chat. What is the symbol for times or multiply when we're doing coding? And this is the same in Scratch, so you guys should hopefully remember this. So times or multiplied. So if we wanted to do 358 times 57, what symbol would we use? Just type that symbol into chat. And then after that, do the same for divide. Because you'll notice that those symbols are, especially the divide symbol, if you're used to writing it a certain way with the line and the two little dots, you might not find that on your computer keyboard. There's something else that you use for that. All right, I'm going to catch up with chat, see what I've made wrong, because I have some friends in the chat who are going to keep me on the straight and narrow when I'm talking about Python, which I'm not super familiar with. All righty. Yep, string, int, float. Yep, very good, Mezzietti. Very nice, very nice. Integer, yes, absolutely. You can use, so Greg says you can use ints and floats interchangeably in calculations in most circumstances, but you need to use the expected type in certain context. Yeah, cool, awesome. Getting very close, very close. You've mostly got it correct. So let's test it, shall we? So we were talking about, times, or do you say multiply, multiplied by? So 10 multiplied by 4 is 40, or do you say 10 times 4? Because I always say times, but I don't know if that's what we still say. So let's test it out, shall we? So we should expect a really large number. So there's a little star where so on my keyboard you have to press and hold Shift and then press 8 to get this star. So we should expect a very large number here. Yeah, cool, 20,406. So this symbol is times. The star is times. You can't do a little X. That won't work. If you do that, it just fails to work. Then let's try divided by. And this is another important thing. Your slash needs to be going the correct way. So if we hit play, we should end up with a very small number, probably with a bunch of decimal points here. So yeah, look, we've got a 6.28, a bunch of that. It's just basically, it's a bit more than 6. So now we've got an idea of how to do. So you could use this print something as a way of doing all sorts of calculations. So next thing, let's learn about. I'm pretty sure I can call this nesting. I might be a little bit incorrect there, but let's talk about nesting. So if we want to take the number that's 400 take away 37, and then we want to take whatever that is and times that by 4. How do we make sure it does it in the right order? Now, there's some more complicated stuff that I could talk to you about, order of operations, but for now, don't worry about that too much. If you want to make sure that it's doing the sums in the right order, you can use what's called nesting. So, for example, as I said before, let's say we took 400 take away, 37, let's say. And then I want to take whatever that is, 400 times 37, and I want to times that by 4. Now, can you see, I don't know if you can see on my screen, but what I've done is I've created some more brackets. I've done open bracket and close bracket around the 400 times 37, take away 37, to make sure that it goes first 400 take away 37, which is like 363, I think. Take that number and times it by 4. So it should be 363 divided times by 4, 1,452. So if we were to take this nesting and do it differently, we could go and put these brackets around the 37 times 4. And now what it will do is it will first go 37, it'll go 400, take away whatever 37 times 4 is. So you get a very different number. Yeah, very different number. So don't worry about it too much, but this is really important. I'm pretty sure I can call this nesting. I could be wrong there. Sing out if I'm wrong about that. But because we also use nesting for if statements when you have ifs inside other ifs, and we ran into this problem a little while ago with people having their if statements inside the wrong place, so that you've got code that's happening inside other bits of code when it should be happening after the code. So that's how you can kind of control bits of your code and make it and nest it into so that you can make sure all this stuff has happened inside the nest, and then the result of that is used in the rest of your code. So this 37 times 4, it's nested, so it figures that out first, and then the rest of your code will just treat it as whatever 37 times 4 is. All right, so hopefully that didn't get too confusing. Hopefully no one's brain is on fire. Precedence? All right, fair enough. I might be using, but yeah, there's a bit of a, there's hopefully a bit of a, so yeah, UJ says not nesting, it's precedence. So I might be getting that confused there. But hopefully the two principles are somewhat, what's the word I'm looking for? You can learn something from that. All right, so, all right, let's move on. We've done some calculations. Let's start doing some more advanced code. So let's start making some variables. So if you have Scratch open, then you can do this with me in Scratch. If you don't worry, just watch my stream. Do you guys, so we've all made variables in Scratch, right? I don't think we've got anyone who's not been here before or who hasn't done variables before. When we're in Scratch, we make variables by going to the variables category and clicking on this button that says make a variable. We decide some stuff for this variable, for all sprites or for this sprite only. So it's a global variable or a local variable or even a cloud variable. Then we give that variable a name. So let's call this coins. So we've made this variable, and and in some languages, you have to decide when you make the variable what data type it's using. Python doesn't, Scratch doesn't. it will adapt to whatever data you put inside it. But some languages will say, you've made this variable, you now have to decide what goes into it. Is it a number? Is it a string? You have to decide now. And in fact, and I believe the difference basically is a dynamically typed language and a, oh God, what's the other one? I forget, doesn't matter. So we are using Scratch and Python. They are both dynamically typed languages, which means we don't need to, when we make a variable, decide what data type goes into it. But you should always bear in mind what data type you use in a variable. Because if you do something like make a variable that stores a string, like the word, I don't know, the word milkshake, and then you try and do a calculation where you say milkshake times 4, like your computer code will have no idea what to do with that. Like you as a human might say, well, it means 4 milkshakes, but the computer code will be going, but I don't know how to times like 4 by milkshake. This isn't a number. What do I do here? And it'll freak out. So you should be very careful with the data types in your variables. So talking about how to make a variable, we in Scratch generally then assign a variable by doing a piece of code that says set variable to something. Let's say set it to 0 or set it to 10 or something like that. And then our variable is then comes up and it's been set to 10. And if you don't set it, generally Scratch will set it for you to 0. In Python, we can both create and assign a variable in the same line. We do it like this. Static, quite right, static. Thank you very much, Greg. So yeah, we're using, so Python and Scratch are dynamically typed languages. A static typed language needs you to decide each time you make a variable what data type it's using. This will be important later when you guys are all, making tons of money working for Google and such. And, you've all grown up and you're doing advanced coding. But for now, we don't have to worry about it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go coins. We're going to type this into our Python screen. We're going to go coins equals 10. And then, after that, we're going to say print coins. So, if I put quotation marks around the print coins, it will just print the word coins. But if I don't, what does it print? If we have 2 lines of code, coins equals 10, and print coins, then when we hit run, it will print whatever coins the variable is, 10. All right, let me catch up with chat. I'll get there. I can do words. All right. Yep, I think I'm all caught up. All right. So, if we have print coins, this word coins is now referring to a variable. And when we say print it, it will print whatever is inside the variable. So if we have a second line that says coins equals 12, when we hit run, so if we have coins equals 10, then coins equals 12, then print coins, what's it going to say? Coins equals 12. Because first we set coins to 10, then we set coins to 12. The order of the code matters, right? So, what we're going to do now is we're going to do a bit of an exercise. I want you to make me a piece of code. In fact, well, no, we're all going to make it together. The code goes like this. I'm giving you a magic wand The magic wand can create a certain number of coins every day. And we need to figure out code that will determine how rich we can become in how much amount of time. So we need to make 3 variables. So everyone follow me and do this with me. So we've already got our coins variable. That's good. Now we need to have a, in fact, let's do this in the correct order. First variable needs to be magic wand equals 10, because this magic wand makes 10 coins every day that we use it. And then our second variable, we'll say days is 360, because we're going to start off with a year. And then we're going to say coins. So, first of all, I need to explain something as well. If you type in magic space wand equals 10, it's going to freak out. If you hit run, you're going to get an error. You're going to get a syntax error, invalid syntax. This is because in Python, you cannot have spaces inside the names of your variables. So let's very quickly talk about naming conventions. So in Python, you cannot say a variable is magic space wand. It's got to be magic wand, all one word, or you can put like a symbol, like an underscore, because every time you put a space, you're telling your code that this is one thing, there's a space, and this is now another thing. So if you try and name a variable 2 words with a space in between, it's going to think they're 2 different variables, okay? And it's a bit more complicated than that, but that's close enough, I think, to understand it. So you must make sure that your variables are named without any spaces in them, otherwise your code will freak out and stop working. So we've got our magic wand. That makes 10 coins a day. We've got 360 days that we're going to test. How rich are we at the end of this? Write the code for coins. So coins equals then something to do the maths on how rich we become. Write it in chat now. I'll give you just a bit of a head start. And hopefully you can figure this out. So remember, when we call a variable, when we summon it by writing its name, it will give us whatever is inside the variable. So what we need to do is our third line here should be coins equals magic wand. And you'll notice that also Python here is like going, oh, well, you've already named this variable. It's giving me some help here. It's letting me know exactly how the variable was spelt before. Magic wand times days. I think we can put spaces here. I'm not sure what the best practice is. So now we should have code that takes whatever the strength of our magic wand is, times it by however many days we have, and says that's how many coins we have. So has everyone gotten that far? Everyone's got magic wand equals 10, days equals 360, coins equals magic wand times days. Print coins. And this code will now tell us how many coins we have from our magic wand that makes 10 coins a day. And now what you can do is you can change this. You could say, well, let's say I gave you a better magic wand and it makes 15 coins per day. Then you can hit play and it will update and do the sum with the new number. Let's say you want to test for twice as many days. You want to go to 720 days. And again, it updates. So you can very easily, what you can do is you can change what's in the variable, and your code for coins will still work. It's pulling from those variables. So, yes, you're quite right, Jack. Perfect. I'll go back to the magic wand can make 10 coins, and we have 360 days that we're testing for. So, and we did all the sums before. You can do you can do a bunch of other different things. So one other thing as well, if something goes wrong in Python, it will often be because something got spelled incorrectly, or the syntax was right, or the syntax was wrong, or there was not enough brackets. Like so, if you, for example, if you have magic _1 like I have, remove the underscore from one of your references, and look, it fails to work because I've spelt magic wand differently here to how I spelt magic wand there. If I spell it incorrectly, magic wind, again, it won't work. So and Python, a lot of it will tell you, like it's trying to help you out here. It's saying, look, this is an undefined name. You have not defined this variable. So that can help you when things go wrong in Python. But it's important to remember that your spelling really matters when you're using Python. And the key thing is consistency. If you spell it one way in one piece of code, you've got to make sure you spell it that way in another piece of code. Okay, so let's do something more interesting to finish off, and then I think we're probably done with our short introduction to Python. You guys have been doing very well. You've been keeping up nicely. Absolutely. Well done, Jack. Good job. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create some code that gives us something a bit more interesting. So we're going to do an if statement. We use a lot of if statements in Python, in Scratch. So what we're going to do is, and this is going to come back to nesting. So we want right on line 4, right underneath our coins equals magic wand times days, we want to write if, then in brackets, coins, and we've done this before, more than, let's say, 100. And then what you need to do is you need to go down to the line below it, and you need to press Tab, which is this button on your keyboard here. You need to press Tab to create, we're going to nest all of this stuff inside our if. And you'll notice that it will, if you press Enter, it should do this as well. So then we want to print a string. So instead of just printing coins, you're so rich. Let's try that. You're so rich. Do you remember how to do strings? So what we're going to do now is we're going to hit play, and I might have done something wrong here. Spaces maybe? Oh yes. Yeah, there we go. So the other thing that you need to do, if it's not working, is you need to put a colon after the close bracket on your if line. So yeah, immediately I get something wrong in the syntax. Yeah, so you press Shift and this button on your keyboard here to make a colon. You should be able to see it on my screen as well. So then run this, and you should have a piece of code that says, "You're so rich." There's probably a bunch of comments now going to come up in the chat saying, "Jonathan, you forgot the colon." All right, but you can see how yeah, one thing out of place and it doesn't work. So then what we're going to do, we're going to put another line of print, open bracket, you have, then quotation mark. Now here's an interesting thing we're going to do. So close bracket, sorry, not close bracket, quotation mark again. So you have, quotation mark again, and then I want you to do a comma, coins, no quotations, then another comma, then coins again, then quotations again, and then type in the word coins exclamation mark. Now that's a bit confusing hearing it said aloud, so make sure that you can see my screen. So you should have this line 6 should say print open bracket quotation you have quotation comma coins comma quotation coins exclamation mark quotation close bracket. So what's this going to do? Write your answers in chat now. I'm going to give you a bit of a head start, then I'm going to explain it. I'll run it first. So, what we're doing here is we are printing both strings, but also our variable. And this is how games do things like insert your name into text. When you're playing, let's say you're playing an adventure game, and at the beginning of the game it's like, what's your name? And you say, my name is Jonathan. And then it's like, welcome to this magical land, Jonathan. And I'm like, oh, the game knows my name. And then when you meet other characters, they're always talking to you. And when they talk to you, they say, Jonathan, we must go and defeat the evil wizard. And this is how it works. You're calling this variable. So, has anyone run into any problems with making this code? Oh, just type it, copy paste it all into chat, Jack. We'll have a look at it. So you can just copy paste it all into chat, just like, I wonder, let's see. Yeah. So that's what you need, with some spaces to make it a bit more readable. Excellent. Thank you, RuneWiz. Much appreciated. All right. So the last bit of code that we're going to do now is we need to figure out what happens if we have less than 100 coins. So on line 7, oh, you found it? All right, cool. So AD was just asking how you get the more than symbol. Generally, you go shift and then down this one here. Hopefully, you can see that on the laptop. So now we need another if, and we're almost at the end, guys. You guys have been very patient. You've been following along very well. This is the real coding. Scratch is a lot of fun. I enjoy Scratch. I have a lot of affection for Scratch. But this is the stuff that if you know, you can do all sorts of impressive stuff. You can make websites, you can make apps, you can make games. Understanding this stuff is really useful, depending what you want to do in the future. Okay, so we're going to do another if. We're going to go if coins, then we're going to do less than 100. And remember what I forgot? I need to do a colon. And then when we hit enter, it should give us an indent so that we've got this nicely nested inside our if. Print ooh. Looks like you could use some more money. So now, if you change the numbers attached to your variables in line 1 and 2, you should be able to get two different responses. Either, ooh, looks like you could use some more money if you make the number really small, or if you make the number really big, it should give you a message saying, you're so rich, you have however many coins. So the key thing here is looking at each part of the code and what it does, because the answer is not the important thing. The answer is not getting the sums correct. The important thing is you've got all the different bits of code working correctly. So now you should have this ability to have two different responses. And there's one last thing that we generally, we can do in Scratch, but we tend not to because it's a little bit fiddly in Scratch. there's a really easy, what happens if we have 100 coins exactly? So if we make magic wand 10 and days 10, because we have two if statements, if coins more than 100 or if coins less than 100. What happens if we put coins, if we make magic wand 10 and days 10, so the answer is going to be exactly 100? Literally nothing. Because more than 100, what's the lowest amount that more than 100 is? It's 101 or a bigger number, 102, 103, all the way up to infinity. And what's less than 100? Less than 100 has got to be 99 or lower. So we don't actually have anything for 100. And there's a really easy way to fix this. It's actually easier than in Scratch. And that's, we go to line number 7, if coins less than 100, and we put a little equals after the less than. So now, when we hit play, it should say, ooh, looks like you could use some more money. So this equals turns this less than into less than or equal to 100, which means that it's 99 or less or 100. So just remember, more than or less than, don't include the number itself. And if you put a little equals onto it, then it's less than or equal to 100, for example. So that's a really useful thing to remember. We don't do that a lot in Scratch. We take shortcuts because there's no really easy way of doing that in Scratch. And in Python, it's so easy. You just type one character. So, all right, Jack. So, let's see if I can. So, I can't actually do. So this is the code that you need. So, okay, so Jack, I just can't do the thing with the tab and group it. Okay, so you actually might not need to use the tab, because if you just type in the first line, if coins more than 100, and then make sure you've got that colon, then it might even just already, if you hit enter, I wonder if this works. I'm just going to test something. Yeah. So here's the thing with nesting. You should have exactly one tab for everything that you want to happen inside an if. So look at my screen, Jack. Can you see this if coins more than 100? Do everything that's nested inside this if. There is exactly one indent. If I make it 2 indents, that's going to break things. It's not going to work. So there's this space, and there's like a line, and so all of this stuff that I'm going to highlight for you here, all of this stuff should probably already be just indented 1, and the way that you indent is with tab. But if I indent it more times, it's going to not work. So you want it all just to be indented 1 underneath this if. So you need lines 5, 6, and 7 all to have just one indent underneath the if. Hey, Mum gave it a go. That's wonderful. Lovely to hear it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy-paste every line individually, okay? Yeah, we're pretty much done. I'm just going to give you this so that you can look and see how it works. wonder if... So then what you need is these 3 lines all need... I'll just copy paste this. Just so it's in the chat. So this is the code. You should see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines. Lines 5, 6, and 7 need to be indented once. Just the once. And in fact, this version of Python will do it for you. You can see this, right? If you're looking at my screen, I'll make it really big so you can see it. Oh, I can't make it that big. All right, zoom out, zoom out. There we go. You can see that all of this stuff, that's lines 5, 6, and 7, are all inside the if that starts on line number 4. And if you look to the right of where it says line number 4, you can press a little minus and make them all disappear. So that they're all sort of contained inside this if. So that's the important thing with nesting. We've got to make sure that, look at what each line does. Oh, yeah, I included that print 10. That was an experiment. You don't need that print 10. So yeah, have a think about how the nesting works. Everything that's inside the if that's above it should already be indented. I mentioned you can do tab, but you don't have to. Okay, cool. If I go... I don't have an account, though. I don't think I can save this because I don't have an account. But what I might do is I might see if I can give a link to this in the YouTube video. Anyway, that's pretty much everything we've got time for today, guys. If you struggled, maybe watch the video again. Fast forward to the bit where you're like, oh yeah, I understand all this, but this is the bit where it all went wrong. And then watch closely. You can pause me. You can see what my code is. You can have a look at the screen and go, oh, I forgot the colon. Or I put something where it wasn't meant to be. Or I put too many spaces or something like that. Because that should work. Yeah. So hopefully that was interesting. Put you onto Python a bit more. One thing that especially UJ and I want to really stress is self-sufficiency. So with coding, there's only so far that I can take you. You can see how little I know about Python. So if you want to learn, for example, what data types go into Python, just Google it. Type it into Google, what data types go into Python. If this is stuff that you're serious about and you want to learn more about, look up more YouTube tutorials by people who've been doing this longer than I have and are better at it than I am. I enjoy it, but there's so much stuff out there. And it's important that you learn how to Google things because coders who work in the industry, people who are adults, who have been doing it for years and decades, will hit problems that they don't understand. And the only way they can solve it is by going on the internet and looking for other people who may have a solution for them. That's an important skill to learn. That's a massive change when you're able to fix your own problems by teaching yourself things through the internet and looking further and looking deeper. All right, let's go save. Okay. Let's see if that works. I should have tested it before I shared it. Yeah, there we go. Thanks for that, UJ. All right, so I wonder how long this stays up. This might be a temporary link. I'm not sure because I don't have an account. But we'll see how that goes. So yeah, so hopefully that's all made it a bit more understandable. I know that Python is a bit intimidating if we're just used to Scratch. But this stuff is really, really useful, really, really important. Oh yeah, cool. So Jack. Well, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we've got enough time. If you put your URL in, Jack, then I'll be able to have a look. Oh, wait, no. You won't be able to put your URL into chat. Jack, can you message me on Scratch, the URL? Because the chat will not display links. I wonder if this is from Jack. Blake couldn't make it today. That's okay, Blake. So you won't be able to. I can post links in chat, but you won't be able to, Jack. So if you already follow me, I'm Palethorn on Scratch. You should be able to message me. I think you can message me the link. Otherwise, just have a look at my code, compare it with yours, and figure out where you've gone wrong. Fair enough? So I've given you the link to my code. So click on that, Jack, make sure you've got that, and you can have a look and go, what's in this code that's different in my code? And then you'll go, oh, this bit is wrong, or that bit is wrong. Yeah. All right, so that's all we have time for. If you guys want to, so have a look at the code that I've shared with you, Jack, and you should be able to figure out where the difference is. Because it's only a very short amount of code, you should be able to spot the difference. And then once you see the difference, you should hopefully know where you've gone wrong. Either that or watch the video again and follow closely. All right, so hope you guys had fun today with Python, something a bit more challenging than normal. On Thursday, we are going to make our own paint game in Scratch. So that should be a lot of fun. And something a bit more creative. We do a lot of games, where you can win and where you can lose. That should be a bit interesting. I know that some people here have already made painting games or started them, so hopefully this will be something that'll be interesting. And then next week, not sure what the plan is just yet. I'll probably let you know on Thursday. So you guys have a good few days. And as always, if you leave some comments in the YouTube video, or if you let me know on Scratch, you can catch up with me there. So yeah, if you want to get in contact with me there and ask for more help, how to do things, you can. If you've got suggestions for what to do on stream, if there are games you'd like me to make tutorials for, say that. But yeah, until I see you guys on Thursday at 4 p.m., stay awesome, be cool to each other, take care of yourselves. All right, we'll see you next time.